Hello, village people, and welcome to the Village Voice. I am your host, Connie Shryock. This is our very first episode 1 podcast of the Village Voice. For those of you who are not familiar with the term podcast, it's basically an audio recording that you can listen to. It can take the form of a number of different ways. It could be stories, it could be musical format, it could be all kinds of things. This particular format is an interview format. And our intention is to have you get to know some of our residents, some of our staff, and some other special guests who will be stopping by. And I am struggling mightily, but that's okay. It'll come out in the wash. So I'd like to welcome episode 1 first guest, resident Preble Ware. Hello, Preble.
Good morning, Connie.
It's a pleasure to have you here. What do you think so far?
I just hope that this first podcast will not be the last.
There's always a chance. We may lose our funding really quickly.
This is funded? That's wonderful.
Funded basically by the activities department.
Wonderful department. Who runs that, Connie?
Let's see. Who is that? The name escapes me right now. But that's not what's important. So, Preble, how long have you lived here at the village?
It's been a little over a year and a half, and time flies when you're having fun.
Time does fly, and I hope you are having fun. It's a lot of fun having you here.
Well, thank you. It's fun to be here.
Now, before you and Paula, your lovely wife, moved to the village, I'd like to know a little bit about you. I'm going to concentrate on you, if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Well, it's all about me, Connie.
I always thought it was. I'm curious a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and what your life was like.
Well, I was born in Virginia, in Newport News. I think I was 4 when I moved to Roanoke, Virginia, and lived there till I was 29, and went to Virginia Tech, and that's where I met Paula. And in fact, we got married while we were still there, and moved out here because we came to visit her parents.
They lived out here?
Yeah, he had retired from the Air Force after, I think, about 33 years. And when I came out here, and it was like the middle of July, and I said to myself, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. I can play tennis every day out here.
In July?
Yeah, young and dumb. What can I tell you? Yes, and Paula, of course, thought we were still going to be going on to California, which was her dream. We never quite made it, although she still talks about moving to California. But I think that's a done deal at this point. I think we are here for the duration, thank goodness, because you couldn't find a better place than Friendship Village.
Oh, how nice. And that is why people should move to Friendship Village right there, because you can't find a better place.
Exactly.
I want to get back to Roanoke a little bit. I've never had the pleasure of visiting your hometown, so I'm kind of curious what it's like and what it was like at the time when you were growing up.
Well, Roanoke is in southwest Virginia, and the Blue Ridge Mountains run right beside Roanoke. And we had a house that was on the mountain that basically I could get on my bike, and within 5 minutes I was on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and it was just a level ride to the parkway. So I'd just leave my house and off I'd go to the parkway, and there would be, wild turkeys and all kinds of, deer, etc. Beautiful place to grow up in.
That sounds wonderful. So you were very outdoorsy even then.
Especially on the tennis court. I learned how to play tennis when I was, starting at 5 years old, and then ended up playing on the Virginia Tech tennis team. And so that's when I came out here. It was like, oh yes, every day I can play tennis.
There was a through line from 5 years old to all the way to now.
I know. My
Tennis.
goodness, yes.
So, who taught you how to play tennis?
We belonged to the Roanoke Country Club, and there was a tennis pro, actually several of them over the years. And so I had tennis lessons and then played a lot of tennis tournaments and just kept going till I got out here and I still play, and not as often as I would like, but something about heat and old age just don't mix that well anymore.
I don't think it mixes that well with young people either, but I think they barrel through it a little more.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
So, tennis, and have you been able to continue to play?
Yes, Kleinman Park is right down the street in Mesa, so it's like a 5-minute drive to the tennis courts, and they're wonderful tennis courts there. And they've also got 4 pickleball courts. They turned one of the tennis courts into 4 pickleball courts. Very nice facility there.
Do you play pickleball too?
Oh my God, I'm going to pick up pickleball once I hit 90. That's when I'm going to pick up pickleball.
When your tennis skills just won't let you anymore?
Yeah, I think the tennis skills have been going downhill for quite a while. Seems like I'm getting, I go for the ball and I swing at the ball, but I don't hit the ball. I think that's a problem these days. My quickness seems to have disappeared over the years.
Well, that does happen. That does happen, even to the pros.
Yes.
So what other hobbies do you have?
Well, hiking here has absolutely been wonderful. Kristen and Jean Valentine live right next door to us.
Right.
And when I found out she was in charge of the hiking club, well, obviously, if your next door neighbor's in charge of the hiking club, then you've got to be a member of the hiking club. And that's been absolutely wonderful. We've been on some wonderful hikes. And my problem is keeping up with the people. See, now I'll be 75 this year, but a lot of the people in the hiking club are much older, and keeping up with them has really been a problem. These people are hikers, and I'm not that fast, and I keep yelling at them. I say, slow down, let me catch up.
Oh, so you're the slowest one in the group, huh?
Well, yes, unfortunately, but I'm getting better at it. And now the hiking club will actually have 2 different days of hiking in the week. One's Tuesday for the regular hikers, and then on Friday there'll be a much easier hike. So hopefully I'll be doing both of them.
It sounds great.
Yes.
It sounds like a lot of fun, and you get to see a lot of nice things. Interesting rocks and cacti and wildflowers.
Yeah, and tarantulas and all kinds of birds, and we've seen snakes, and it's and deer and javelina. It's been fantastic.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. And the other thing that I really enjoy, now we moved over from the lakes, so we had a long trip to get here, 2 miles.
Yeah, I was going to say that's about 2 miles.
Yeah, and I played a lot of bocce at the lakes over the years. Mm-hmm. And when I saw the bocce court out here, and it was not really being used very much, in fact, not at all when I arrived. And so now, on a nice Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, there'll be 14, 15, 16 people out on the bocce court. And so I've rejuvenated bocce here, and then after a while people said, well, it might be starting to get a little hot later on, and what about shade? And so I requested a couple of like those big umbrella type shades from Costco, and put in a request, and next thing I know, oh yes, we can do that. And so we have 2 wonderful shades out there, and then we've got the pine tree behind us for shade. And there are some idiots who this summer play at 2 o'clock on Saturday when it's 115, And I'm one of them, of course.
Aren't you the head idiot, really?
I am the head idiot. There's no question about that. But then we usually have 2 or 3 other idiots out there at the same time. And of course, Paula's telling me that, I cannot go out there because of the heat. And of course, I ignore her and I go out there. But I've got plenty of water and we've got our shade. And usually I can lose about 5 pounds in a little over an hour out there.
I could see why.
Yeah, that water weight will just, so I feel so good when I shower and step on the scale and say, oh, I've lost 5 pounds. That's wonderful.
And you left it all on the court.
I did.
So are new idiots welcome at any time to come out and play Saturdays?
Yes. Yeah. And of course, we'll pick it up, I would imagine, in October for, the people that aren't idiots that just love to want to play bocce.
Right.
And
right.
We all have a ball, I mean, it's so much fun out there. We give each other a hard time, and we applaud when someone makes a great shot. And well, at least if they're on the same team, we applaud.
Right, of course.
And then we've got Cole and the administration will play us once a year, although now Cole says he wants to play us twice a year because he likes humiliation.
I just knew you were going to bring that up. It still stings, ladies and gentlemen out there listening to us. It still stings. There's a little bit of pride and a trophy on the line for the administration and employee competition for bocce.
And I come into Connie's office, probably 2 or 3 times a week because I live right next to the rec center. And I come in there and just beam at the little trophy that sits there. And
he does.
Wonderful.
He absolutely rubs it in my face at least once a week, if not more. That's okay. I'm starting to recover from the humiliation just a little bit. So getting back to bocce in general, if for someone who doesn't know what that is, could you explain it a little bit of what it is and how you play it?
Well, there's a bocce court just on the south side of the rec center, which probably 3/4 of the residents don't even know we've got one. But it's a beautiful little court there. And what you have is a little white ball that you roll out, and then there are teams, and there's 4 balls that each team has, and whoever rolls out the bocce ball then rolls a ball, and you try to get as near to the little white ball as you can. And these balls are the size, if you ever did duck pin bowling back when you were a kid, and you just grip a ball. You don't have holes in the balls like you see in bowling these days. So it's just a ball that you can hold in your hand, and you just roll it out, rolling the ball and try to get it close to the little white ball. And whoever gets it closest, and you could actually have all 4 of your balls closer than the other team's 4 balls, and you would get 4 points. And the games are to 11. And there's also, if you're really good, and you get what's called a kisser, and bocce means kiss in Italian.
Oh, it does?
Yes. And if you can roll that ball and you touch with your ball, you touch the little white ball, that's worth 2 points.
Oh, I wouldn't know because I've never been able to accomplish that.
I noticed.
Again, I am recovering from that humiliation. But let's change the subject slightly to find out a little bit more about some of your other hobbies and interests.
I love to play basketball still. And unfortunately, the last time I played basketball was just, on the other side of the fence in Earnhardt Park. And I was working on my 3-point hook shot, which I used to have. Now it's right under the basket trying the hook shot. And unfortunately, I got tennis elbow from practicing my hook shot. So that has kind of slowed down my tennis game considerably.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But I love always loved to play basketball. So that's one of my hobbies. Now I've still got my golf clubs. I haven't hit a golf ball since I've been here, and I was thinking about just going out to the park and resurrecting my golf game. But I find I do much better sitting in my lazy boy chair watching the Golf Channel.
And taking a snooze?
Yeah, I do tend to take a snooze there. Paula tells me, honey, you cannot be taking naps during the day because then you don't sleep well at night. You keep waking up in the middle of the night. And, honey, I know why I wake up in the middle of the night. That's to go to the bathroom as usual.
It's not just related to napping.
No, that's what I tell her. And but the other morning I was so upset. I woke up and I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? All the guys that I play bocce with are going to be so mad at me now because I just spaced it. I missed getting up and getting the awning up and making sure the court was all swept off so we could go out there and play. And I just blew the whole thing. And it took me about 5 minutes to realize that it was not Sunday morning. It was it was Wednesday morning. I wasn't even close. So I was all upset with myself, and there was no reason to be because we play on Saturday at 2 o'clock, and there I was thinking it was Sunday.
Too early.
Yeah, I think I've really got acclimated to Friendship Village now because I don't know what day of the week it is anymore.
I hear that a lot from a lot of residents. You're a good company. I also see you sometimes working in the pottery room. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Oh, let me tell you, I have absolutely no talent, or at least I thought I didn't. I tried out for the Glee Club in elementary school, and out of 30 kids, I was the only one who was not accepted.
Ouch.
Yeah, that was very trying. And then my mother said after my 7th grade year, she said, honey, to keep you out of trouble this summer, you need to be doing something. And I said, oh, Mom, I want to draw. I want to be an artist. She said, great. The art teacher has classes in the summer right down the street. I'll enroll you in that. And after 2 weeks, and I was having more fun. We were doing charcoal drawing, and I was having a blast. And she came up to me, and she put her arm around me, and she said, Preble. And I said, ma'am. She said, I want you to go home and tell your mother she's wasting her money.
Oh, wow.
I know. And
Whoa.
That was my last day of art.
Oh, how disappointing.
But then I got here, and I figured, well, let's try it now. I mean, what have I got to lose?
Right.
People are very nice here. They probably won't run me off.
Right.
And Jan Wise said, Preble, I'd love to have you in class. And by golly, I started making things, and I was so proud. I would take that home and show Paula. I said, where do we want to put this, honey? Isn't this lovely? And Paula said, honey, that is absolutely lovely, and I think it would look really, really good back in the art room, back in the pottery shop.
Oh, so not exactly a patron of the arts?
Well, I think she's a patron of the arts, but just not my art. I think that was a problem. Although now I've got a lot of things in the cottage. Just about everything is on top of the refrigerator out of sight.
We call that a pop-up gallery.
Yes.
I think that's the term that they would use now.
But actually, I've got one of my items is going to be for sale. It's over by the sports bar there.
Right. That's part of the silent auction for the
Yes.
Alzheimer's Association.
Yes, and someone told me that someone was interested in buying it. I'm sure it'll go for at least $100. I mean, it's a real
Minimum.
piece of
Minimum.
work. In fact, Paula says most of my stuff is a piece of work. Yeah. In fact, she calls me a piece of work sometimes.
Every husband's a little bit of a piece of work.
Yeah.
Just speaking on
Yeah.
half of some of the wives out there
Mm-hmm.
in America. But I digress. So what's next for you, Preble? What else are you going to be working on?
Well, I'm happy to say that now that the health care center lobby will be back in action starting Monday.
Have you seen it since
Yes,
it's
I
been
just
renovated?
I just walked over this morning. They haven't quite finished everything. The furniture, I think, they're going to be putting new furniture in there because the old furniture is stacked up in the lobby, and obviously they're going to toss that and put in the new. But other than that, I think it's ready to go. The new carpet is just beautiful there.
That's very lovely. I was
Yeah.
over there yesterday and caught a peek at that. That looks very nice.
Yeah, and the front desk there at the reception
Right.
desk area, beautiful.
Yeah, that looks very nice.
I can hardly wait to be a client over there.
So you can enjoy it on a
Oh, yes.
daily basis.
Well, I'll be in there Thursday afternoon for my usual, I sit at the desk and people come in and they say, where's so-and-so? And I send them to the wrong floor in the wrong room. But eventually it gets straightened out.
Yeah, eventually they find their way. They get a little mini tour that way.
Yes.
Okay, so Preble, when you were making that decision to move into the village, I'm
Yes.
going back in time a little bit, picking up some questions here. What was that process like of the decision to move to the village, and how long was that process between when you first got interested and when you actually set foot in your cottage?
Well, we had been talking about Friendship Village for several years. Paula's dad was in the healthcare center in memory care.
Right.
And of course, we got to see up close and personal, how well he was taken care of. And the staff there is just exceptional at the healthcare center.
They are.
And we had tried to get her parents to move in here years ago, and they never would. I'm not moving any damn nursing home. This isn't any damn nursing home, that's for sure. This is just like the place to live. So for several years, we have been thinking about Friendship Village, and then it was about a 2-year process that when we really started, looking, and the timing couldn't have been better, because when we moved in, there wasn't, 17 people on the waiting list to get into a cottage. It was just like we were looking for the cottage that we wanted to move into, because we wanted to be able to expand it, the master bedroom and the living room. And this unit came up, and boy, we jumped on it, and absolutely perfect. They did a wonderful job.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, in the backyard, the trees there, and we extended the patio and put a cover on that, and we are so happy there. And of course, being right by the rec center, it's absolutely great, because for me to get to pottery and
Right.
bocce and just come over and visit the wonderful people and activities. Who are those people again, Connie?
Well, there's Connie, and then there's Kathleen, and then there's Paul.
Oh, Paul. Yeah, he's got his learner's permit now, I understand.
Yeah, I've seen him drive the golf cart a couple of times, so I think he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, I notice you have to be with him.
Yes. I like to make him drive. He's a student learner.
Yeah, he's a little slow on the uptake, but a very nice young man.
Agreed. Paul is also our sound engineer, so he's actually the one recording this. So this is going to be a lot of fun for us, Preble. So when you were making your move and you were getting ready, I'm sure that was a lot of culling of all the items that you were deciding to bring or not bring.
Oh, that's a big decision. Fortunately, or unfortunately, well, actually, it was fortunately, we had not sold our house yet. So it was actually about 6 months after we moved here that were able to sell the house. So we didn't have the estate sale. We moved in December 4th, and the estate sale was like middle of January.
Mm-hmm.
So when we moved in, we brought this, brought that, and then we would take stuff back and forth because it was like, well, this really isn't going to work, and let's try this, and so it worked out very well, except that every once in a while, Paula would say, well, I should have brought such and such, but that went in the estate sale, so I'm going to have to go out and buy that now.
To buy it back.
Yeah. And of course, the other thing is you're limited in space, like in the closets and stuff.
Right.
And so Paula has told me, because unfortunately I have a habit of going to Ross for Less and Marshall's, and that's where I do my shopping. And I'm always in clearance. And she said, look, honey, if you bring something home, a new T-shirt or shoes or whatever, then something's got to go out. So, shoes in, then there's got to be shoes out. Pants in, pants out, etc.
Right.
And so far, I'm still there. I was worried that I would be one of the items that would be going out. But I've been happy that I'm still here.
You're still here.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But that one item in, one item out is a good lesson for all of us.
Oh, I know. Even at the village shop, I'll buy something there and I'll bring it home. And Paula says, okay, honey, what goes out here?
Do you think that's why your pottery isn't allowed in the house?
I never thought about that. I bet that's it.
I think that we're onto something,
Yeah.
Preble.
As long as she doesn't get rid of my Christmas dishes that I spent years accumulating. I went to so many Ross for Less and Marshall stores putting together that Christmas set. And I probably spent $500 in gas going around the valley over a period of years getting all those pieces together.
Right.
And that's one thing that I insisted come from the house over to the cottage. So every December 1st, I pull out all my Christmas stuff and take the regular everyday china and put that away and put out my Christmas stuff. And then, end of the year, back it goes, bring out the everyday china.
Well, that's nice. That's a nice tradition.
Yeah, I love to do that. Christmas is just great.
Is that your favorite time of year?
I think it is. Because that's when, family gets together and
Right.
of course, Thanksgiving too, and that's always fun. We've got a son and daughter-in-law over in California and a daughter and son-in-law here in Chandler.
Oh, so you do get to see them quite a bit then.
Yes, especially when my daughter makes chocolate chip cookies, I love to see her.
Next time you see her, bring some over and share with your friends.
That's a good idea because really I shouldn't have that much chocolate chip cookies. That's not good for my diabetes, but that's what the heck.
Well, if you eat them with other people, then it doesn't count. It counts against your quota, your calorie quota.
Good thinking. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll bring them over next time.
I'm here to help.
I so appreciate that, Connie.
So we're going to start to wrap up here now, but one segment we want to include in our podcast is something we're calling the Big Question. So the big question for this month has to do with outer space. So in July, on the 20th of July, 1969, was the landing of the Apollo 11 astronauts on the moon. So my big question for you is, if there is life out there that exists in other galaxies, what do you think they would be like? What would the aliens be like?
Oh gosh, I hope it would be like some of the movies I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I remember growing up and seeing the creature from the Black Lagoon, things like that, which gave me nightmares for weeks as a
Right.
kid. But my sister insisted that I go to the Saturday morning matinee and watch these horrible, scary things. So that's what I imagine that aliens are going to look like, and they'd just give me more nightmares.
Yeah, they probably would if they look like the creature from the Black Lagoon or worse. So, if you could ask a big question of the aliens, what would your big question be?
Uh, do you really believe in global warming?
That's an excellent question. Well, thank you everyone for listening to episode 1 of The Village Voice. We hope you've enjoyed it. I just want to remind you, coming up in September, at the end of the month, we do have our Alzheimer's barbecue coming up. So please watch The Villager for more information. Read the digital signs that will have information, and just, see what's going on there. As we like to say in activities, life is great when you participate. And thank you to Preble Ware for being our very first guest, being our little guinea pig today. So thank you, Preble, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's been our pleasure, and thank you so much. I also want to thank Paul Nastev, who is our sound engineer today. He's taking care of us and editing our discussion as well, cleaning it up, taking out all the dirty jokes, etc.
We may not even hear me today.
Thank you for listening to The Village Voice, a Friendship Village of Tempe production.